The manager, I was just taking a lot of stick recently, and it's been obviously performances at times, results at times, people not happy with what he's saying in press conferences. And yeah, some of it, I think some of it justified, some of it's been a little bit over the top, some of it's been borderline disrespectful, and I think he was right to have a little pop back. For example, at the question about Xabi Alonso, or the question about success, and he was like, "Well, I have won the league." I think he was right to be able to say that. There are certain other things that maybe it hasn't gone down too well. Again, go back to it. If you're going to criticise a manager for getting things wrong, you then got to praise him when he gets things right. He got his team selection spot on yesterday. He got the tactics right, he got the system right, and he got his subs pretty much spot on when they both came on as well. So it was a really big win that for Arne Slot for a number of different reasons. Obviously, qualification is very much in Liverpool's hands, and it'd be a shock if they weren't in that top 8 now. Something would have to go really, really wrong. So it was a really, really good night for the manager, and again, I think it's worth mentioning that we should give him his praise, because we've been quick enough, most of us, to criticise him when he's deserved that as well.
I think he's needed that so much. He's been under so much pressure. Can you imagine being a Liverpool manager who won the league last season, sitting in a press conference, and one of the journalists asks you, as Xabi Alonso rang you about the job? That is just baffling to me, and no wonder he snapped back. And there has been times through the last couple of weeks where I've thought he sounded a bit annoyed in press conferences, and I've not liked the way he keeps using the word unlucky all the time, and then he just keeps going on about low block, and I'm like, well, work it out then, like you sort of doing me head in. The way you just keep bringing up low block, and then you're not really changing anything at all to sort of work through it. It's and
like
find
that's
a
the
way
majority
through.
Of our games. Exactly. I'd rather you be better at that than anything else.
Keep saying in the press conference that this is a problem, so now everyone's just doing it against us, and that's how we're ending up in this mess. You're allowed to be annoyed at stuff like that, but that press conference really annoyed me, and I think it really wound him up the wrong way as well. So I think that's probably why he comes out after the game saying, like, you all said that I was boring and all that sort of stuff, and I think that's valid, and he deserves credit where credit's due, and he got his sub spot on as well. Cody comes on and gets that goal, and there has been times this season where he's brought Rio on when we're getting beaten. I've thought, like, why are you doing that to a kid? Stuff like that. And I've been quite annoyed at him and just thought he's getting it wrong. But he got it right last night, and I think credit needs to be given. And I think European football plays to his strengths a lot more than it does in the Premier League, which is still a problem in itself. But I'm not sitting here saying I want a different manager at all. I don't feel indifferent on it, because I do think I'd feel very sad if we ended up losing a Premier League winning manager in that way after such a short period of time. But I can understand people's frustration, but the disrespect from journalists and stuff like that, and certain aspects of the fan base just not understanding that he won the league last season, you've got to give him credit for that. I even had someone tweet me yesterday saying, like, really hoping we lose this tonight because I need him out of a job. And I'm like, you're not a Liverpool supporter. When we're trying to get Champions League qualification here, automatic qualification, and we can actually do well in that competition, like, I would put money on us winning it after that performance last night. I'm that confident.
We're so back.
We are so back. Genuinely, we're so back. I'm dead confident now all of a sudden, but that side of the disrespect of it's out of order. You can be as critical as you want to be, but just don't be disrespectful to him, because he's still capable of winning difficult away games like that in the Champions League. So I think he deserves credit where it's due.
I'm going to just say in defence, if it was just one reporter.
Yeah, it was just one reporter, but then you've got the whole of social media saying similar things.
Quick. I've been surprised how quickly the fan base has turned, and my worry has been that it's not just been this season, it's been the last 38 league games where I think Wolves have won more points. There's some mad stats out there.
I was more than happy for them to go on holiday though when we'd won the league.
Oh, yeah,
I had
to be
no
fair,
problem
you can take
with
4
losing
games
any of them
off
games. That was fine, but people are adding that now to this argument, and I don't count that at all in the argument of things.
I think people who justify criticism, I think criticism is fine, and there are people. We had Lewis on the other day, for example, who was like, I would like us to change the manager, and he made reasoned argument why he suggested that.
I understand it.
And I think we're all there. I just think some of it's been very, very disrespectful. And like I say, it's crazy, because again, here on Redmen, I've been equally as criticised for saying we've been disrespectful to the manager, for questioning him, as we have been.
Well, you can't win on it.
Happy clappers for backing him. I think, again, criticism and disrespect are different, and I think he's right. that, you know, to bite back at the disrespect, Sam, I think he's more than justified to be able to do it. Whether it be from this one report, like you mentioned, the booing at Burnley, which again, he was like, he didn't think that was justified. He was like, you know, Sam, like, that's what it is, but we are where we are with it. He is clearly not an idiot. Like, he's clearly, he still is a good manager, and listen, he might get sacked at the end of the season. Things might go badly wrong. He might go back to low blocks and not be able to beat them because he can't get his head around that yet. And he's more obsessed with low blocks now than he was with PSG last year. Like, it's a thing that they're going to have to work out. But this idea that he's just some lucky fraud clown who took over a Jurgen Klopp side and won a league by fluke, you know, because Mo Salah won in the league and stuff like that.
Someone's going to cut out just that bit you've just said and say Steve Horse says.
Yeah, fill your boots, whatever. I'm not it goes over my head. I could not give a fuck. But, like, Jurgen Klopp didn't win the league with that team. Like that this year, you know, like, Mo Salah scored more goals in his first season for Liverpool, or thereabouts, and Liverpool came fourth. Like, there's still got to be other things contributing to it. So, I think, again, I've been criticised for not being maybe too critical of him. I was more than willing to give a little bit of benefit of the doubt, but it has been very, very disrespectful. And I like that that he's answered back at some of the critics. But, you know, one result doesn't change things, because Liverpool have been, against teams who have played football against us, Liverpool have been good, or consistently all throughout the year. Look at the results Liverpool have had. Real Madrid, you know, they went to Inter Milan, a team who tried to play us and they won, and Marseille, and Aston Villa is another one, and Brighton. It's the teams who haven't tried to play us at our own game or play footy we've struggled with, and he has to get over that hump, and I'm sure he's well aware of that. But I think yesterday he reminded people with his changes that he made on the team selection that he's not just some absolute bumbling idiot who doesn't have a clue what he's doing.
And he's not as stubborn as people are making him out to be.
He's got a bit of a clue what he's up to. He's not some fraud as he's been labelled.
I like the way he talks in general, and I don't mind him having a little bit of a go back, although I'm not sure it creates the kind of calm atmosphere or environment you really want around the club. But the kind of worry for me has been he's almost become a little bit scared to lose, I feel. Now that might be, and the thing to caveat everything we say is with this season is there's so many different factors that have gone into this. Yes, Slot has made tactical mistakes on numerous occasions, but there's so many other factors. Obviously what happened over the summer, new players, it's not all been his fault. I got worried when we started playing like Brendan Rodgers at the end of his era and just trying to kind of find stopgaps. But now Salah's back. Bradley is obviously out and Isak, but we've got more of a team back now. We might start to see that change. Hopefully, Burnley was an anomaly in that we didn't score, but it was us starting to play a bit more on the front foot. Marseille, I don't think was a surprise. As much as it was great, I don't think it was a surprise that we played well. My bigger worry is more of his kind of squad management. Mo Stewart did a good piece for us on This Is Anfield about Slot likes a small squad, but if you like a small squad, you've got to utilise every single one of those players, and we haven't. You look at the likes of Chiesa and Endo and players like that. Klopp would have got the best out of them. He was really good man manager, Klopp. I don't think we've seen that from Slot yet, and maybe that's why his head coach and the sporting director should be doing more, or we don't really know. But I would like to see a bit more from Slot in managing the squad, because I don't think he can. We saw last season, I don't think he can compete on all fronts, playing the kind of team or using 13 players in the entire season. I also don't like the way the Elliott situation's been handled, which it might sound like an aside incident, but it's all part of creating this winning environment and this kind of family environment that is together and will drag you over the line in games. Now, that might not have just been Arne Slot. He's probably been told to say that line about him not being a Liverpool player. But I don't think Jurgen Klopp would have done that.
No,
I think he would have gone against the club line and just been like, well, at least being a little bit more respectful.
No, it's one of those things.
It's the more overall package. I think he can improve. I'm still not in the Slot out camp. I've always said that if we were to get rid of him, then it needs to be with a plan. Now Alonso's come up, people have said Alonso, but Alonso had one great season. And then, yes, Madrid was pretty much impossible to succeed there with everything that went on with the players. But I'm still not convinced that come next season, we've hopefully got another centre-half in, possibly a left winger. Everyone's gelled together for another year. Slot is still a young manager and has time to learn. I still think he could be the one to take us forward. I think we wanted instant success this year, and he has made mistakes which have been very obvious, but hopefully this year, if we come out of it with a Champions League or an FA Cup and the top four, then I think we'll look back and hopefully say, well, that was a year of transition. Plus, obviously, what happened in the summer will have affected everybody.
It's worth mentioning to wrap it up as well. I'd be like, no one's sitting here and going, here's the perfect manager. You know, again, I find it interesting. The things that he was getting praised for last year, he's getting criticised for now because Liverpool are losing. Everyone loved the openness in the press conferences, that he was honest. People like he's ruthless. He takes no shit. Like, he'll sub Gerald Kwanzaa off at half time because he's having a stinker and we'll win the game. And now it's like, well, why is he not being ruthless? You know, it's just kind of all.
He wouldn't have won that League Cup in 2024. I think we can say that for sure. You know what I mean? But it doesn't mean he's tactically kind of less astute than Klopp was. There's more to being a head coach, isn't there?
Absolutely, there's pros and cons to everybody. I just find it, like I say, he's just done some people's heads in now, and I think it's worth mentioning. Like I say, this is not us saying Liverpool are so back and Arne Slot has figured it out.
I am.
You've booked a trip to Hungary already, mate. But it's just worth mentioning. Like, I think sometimes, listen, maybe we're part of it. And I all my hands are we're online, we're talking about Liverpool every day. It's just the sensationalism of it all. You are either you're either amazing or you're shite, and you're not given time to fix things. And I do think that and it's not just last night, by the way. The Champions League record, pretty much as a whole, again, don't get me wrong, the result at PSV was a joke, and that's the only real blip.
That was the nadir, wasn't it?
That was when it got as bad as it gets, and that you shouldn't discount that. But for the most part, like I say, other than a pretty average decision in Turkey, he'd have been almost thereabouts. Liverpool would be definitely 100% qualified by now, perhaps. But yeah, I think the Champions League form is showing like he's not a clown. He is just being presented with some problems that he's going to have to try and figure out, and I would back him to eventually be able to get his head around it. Are you in the same boat?
Yeah, I think it's been a knock-on effect of one thing after another this season that sort of brought a certain aspect of the fans maybe to this point, and I think everyone's got to a certain point with them at different times, but now I feel like we're in a situation where a lot of people feel quite indifferent on the matter now. I think there was a point where we started losing games and stuff like that, and then Jürgen does that interview with Dari, the CEO, and says like, yeah, it's possible, and all of a sudden I don't know if I'm like looking into things too much, but it triggered something in people to think we don't actually have to stick with this manager, and all of a sudden I was seeing accounts saying Slot out and stuff like that, and it just sort of changed the whole narrative around things, and then people started going like, well, maybe Gerrard is interim because they needed an interview, going like, if Liverpool ever needed me. Do you know what I mean? So I think it sort of opened people's minds to the possibility of something else. Not that people wouldn't think they could just go and get another manager, but I think it sort of gives people options in their mind. And I feel like he was last season praised so much for not trying to be trying to be Jürgen, and there was times where people were going, he's so honest, he doesn't do what Jürgen does, if he's not going to use any of the young players, he's just letting them sell them, all that sort of stuff. That's fine because that's what he wants to do. Whereas now we're in a situation where people are getting annoyed that he's being so blunt, and I don't know, I think it's just one of those things where it's just been a knock-on effect of one thing after another, where it slowly started to, like, the tide started to turn on him. But now it feels like maybe with games like that, maybe it's given people glimmers of hope that we can sort of push on and win something this season, because people's frustration tended to be, I've seen people saying they're sticking with a manager that's not going to win us any silverware this year when there's still silverware to win. If we weren't still in competitions like the FA Cup or Champions League, stuff like that, to be able to win silverware, people were saying like, oh well, maybe you just stick with him to the end of the year then if you're not in that silverware. But we still had stuff to win, so people were going, get rid of him, there's still stuff to win. Whereas now you can see with that game he's still capable of winning something. Do you get what I'm saying?
The first thing he needs to do, and where we're kind of going off at a big tangent, but first thing he needs to do is get that home form.
Yep.
Because this pulls back into what I was saying before. It's more than just employing the right tactics every game. It's about the whole environment you create. And playing well at home, not necessarily, you don't even have to be pulling off incredible flicks and, playing incredible football, but you need to have something to get behind at home. I always say this for any manager, it doesn't matter whether you're at the top of the league or the bottom of the league. If you can still have your home fans behind you, then you should be fine in the long run.
Yeah.
I think that's the very first thing he has to do, because it brings back a bit of passion to the ground, because recently it's not just the team, it's all the stuff around ticketing and getting into the queuing and all that kind of thing as well. General football atmosphere debate, which is one for another day. But he has definitely not helped himself the way Liverpool are playing at home. If we can sort that out, make Anfield the cliche of the fortress for the European Cup, then who knows? And then, as we say, full pre-season, even though it's a World Cup year, a couple of players in the door. Let's see where we are next year.
Yeah, like I say, fingers crossed. Like I say, I think he had a right to have a little go back. I think some of it was like a little bit OTT. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section on all that good stuff. That was a clip from the Final Word show. If you'd like to check out the full show, head on over to redmenplus.com.